Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and it feels like patch 11.2 and season 3 just only recently launched. We are literally our first week in to a season 3 endgame content, and they already got some new gameplay announcements and content updates over on the PTR for testing. It feels like we've just gotten out of an 11.2 cycle, and they got even more on the horizon with even more midnight announcements oh so soon. Patch 11.2.5 finally got a PTR build with a pretty big preview. While not a lot of class changes, it is content filled, with Legion Remix being the biggest piece of content that this patch has to offer. Turbo Boost, a fan favorite activity, is also set to make a return to make gearing in this season even easier, but also there's got even more interface improvements, and I wanted to cover all of the major features that are right now available for testing over in the patch 11.2.5 PTR builds, and everything that you can look forward to as part of a future edition of the patch 11.2. But with that, as always, if you guys want to see more regular updates for patch 11.2, 11.2.5, or possibly any more midnight updates, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. Obviously, one of the biggest features of 11.2.5 is Legion Remix, and it's actually kind of unbelievable that it's finally here, at least on PTR, ready for testing. Legion Remix, similar to Map Remix from way back in the heyday, will be a new way for you to experience leveling in World of Warcraft, basically locked in into the entirety of the Legion expansion. It'll be a faster leveling experience, being able to replay all the different storylines and quest lines all over again as a time runner, basically running through everything that Legion content had to offer. They're using character designs of the current War Within, but in that Legion environment, with everything that Legion offered, from the class order halls, the artifact weapon quest lines, and you'll even progress through the content through phases, going from one raid to the next in a very similar cadence that we got to do so back in Legion. The artifact weapons are also returning as the main form of progression here. Gear itself is going to have a variety of crazy stats, so you can be rolling with like 81 mastery here, up to 30% versatility, and I'm just level 20 on this character for the moment. The artifact weapon, however, has been changed in a crazy way. It's been streamlined a little bit, but there will be new gates for you to open up, like a nature tree and a bunch of nature bonuses, a fell tree with a bunch of fell bonuses, arcane tree, thunder tree, and the holy tree, and you'll even be able to get some of these nodes through the various different accessories that you find all throughout your journey, and you'll be able to get it from trinkets and even from necklaces. So there's going to be some build crafting capability here, and the power progression for the weapon itself has also been separated from the bronze, so you can do a lot of the farming to get power without necessarily having to choose between spending currency on cool cosmetics and mounts or being able to make your character even stronger. And they also have this new island where there's a bunch of vendors for you to be able to try out different things that have been added. Specific new exclusive ensemble vendors for Fel Green Legion Remix specific items with a variety of different weapons, transmog pieces, and much more. Similar to Map Remix, you'll be able to go back and gain some of the more sought after items like the Mythic as well as the Heroic version, or the base version of the Argus Scythe, for instance. Xavier's shoulders are also here. Tashalek is also waiting for you to obtain it, as well as a variety of different sets from previous raids, though like I said, it's going to come out in phases, so they'll be unlocked over time. So at the very beginning, you can just work on like the first set of sets, then next phase will come out 2 weeks after, and you can work on the second set of sets, and so on. And there's many different vendors out here. There's even one that is called a housing vendor, though right now he doesn't have anything on him on PTR. But it seems like you'll be able to get some cosmetic housing items from Legion Remix in preparation for the expansion of Midnight. And there's so many different vendors with so many different things for you to collect. Legion Remix in general just seems like a collector's dream. It just has so many different items for you to be able to obtain, and a lot of the bronze that you'll be able to get is just from playing Remix, leveling characters, exploring the content, diving into raids and dungeons, and you'll be able to obtain all of these items for every single one of your characters. with Legion Remix primarily serving as a new way for you to level up new characters ahead of midnight, giving you something to do outside of the Season 3 content in preparation for the next expansion, basically giving you something to do while waiting for the next chapter of the World Soul Saga. And I cannot wait for this piece of content to finally be made available to the live realms, as it's been incredibly fun over on the PTR testing side of things. Speaking of Season 3 and gearing, Turbo Boost will also be making a return as part of the patch 11.2.5. Turbo Boost was a fan favorite event from Season 2, giving players an opportunity to fill out some of the best gear on their main character, but also a great opportunity to get some ults up and running before the season is over. Hero and Mythic track gear got extended in terms of additional power and how many ranks you can upgrade for them, giving players an opportunity to catch up, to get their seasonal achievements for Mythic raiding, Mythic dungeons, delves, everything you need. Basically, everybody saw a huge power spike in order to help players get a bit of that catch up to finishing out all of their seasonal goals. There were gear vendors for players to be able to directly purchase items after raiding or after doing dungeons for a number of weeks to be able to fill out your best in slot pieces with all the raid and dungeon weapons, trinkets, and even cantrip items, which are items with unique additional bonuses, such as maybe like rings that give you a specific buff or something. Players also got a ton more warband gear, and it's going to be making a return for this Turbo Boost as well. A lot more warband items for all of your ults will start to drop from end-game content. Valor Stones will also become transferable across characters in order to make that gearing journey even easier. And players will be able to start to obtain hero track delve trinkets from the vendor of Dalaran, which means everybody's going to be able to get additional progression made overall, whether you're into dungeons, raiding, or delves. Outside of this, we also got some additional UI improvements coming up as part of the patch 11.2.5, and one of those features is going to be recent allies. Essentially, anytime you do dungeons with random pugs, do delves, do any type of content with other players, you also will be able to mark them as recent allies, and you'll be able to note them as their recent allies in chat or next time you run into them. It will let you know that you've played with these players recently. And apparently there's going to be even more UI customizations for it, as they're starting to do some little improvements, as they're starting to add additional little drop-down arrows and likely more functionality into the contact screen, or rather every time you open up your social tab, which is definitely a bit outdated, so they're trying to improve on that specifically. And while we don't really have UI elements right now, it does look like they're at least prepping in the background a bunch of strings to be able to enable for you to see and keep up with players that you've recently met within any group content, which actually could be really good when it comes to expanding on the social experience of the game, especially for the end game progression. If anything, I think this could be an opportunity for players to meet up with other players that maybe they've had a good experience with in Mythic Plus Dungeons, being able to mark them as, I enjoyed running with that person on that last Mythic Plus Keystone that we did recently. So maybe next time you see them in LFG, you'll see that they are there. Like maybe that tank that was just a banger tank, did not die whatsoever, super easy to heal, and you love doing... and you'd love to do more dungeons with that tank specifically, you might be able to at least add him as a recent player contact. And next time you see them in Pugging Up in LFG, you might be able to join up with them. And then from there, that potentially could be a newly formed bond of somebody to do Mythic Plus Keystones with regularly. We'll see exactly what Blizzard wants to add when it comes to some of these improved features later down the line, but that is something that we'll hopefully see over the next few weeks. Now, another feature that's also getting some much needed improvement is the cooldown manager. They revealed somewhat recently that they're going to be doing a pretty big overhaul for it, giving players even more control as to how they will be able to customize it, where players will finally be able to add or remove spells into various different auras. Like you have your major cooldowns or utility cooldowns, you'll be able to customize which cooldowns go where. If you want to make a button something that shows up as an icon or as a tracking bar, like to maybe make it easier for you to be able to track it more accurately within PvE or PvP content, you'll now be able to have much more customizability. And any abilities you just don't want to be able to track or don't want to have to track, like possibly you just don't want to sit there and track, let's say, I don't know, Cobra Shot as a Beastmastery Hunter, because it's an ability that's readily available. You can just turn it off to remove some of that clutter from these bars completely, which will make your gameplay a lot easier in the process. Being able to drag spells in and out of different windows in particular, I think is one of the best parts because it gives you even better customizability of your UI. Removing the buttons you don't really need to track, but also allowing you to change how you want to track some of these other buttons, whether as a icon on your screen with a timer, or as an actual bar, or moving it to the different sections so you have a little bit more freedom in terms of how you can customize which abilities you need to be able to see. It's yet another step of Blizzard trying to remove some of the necessity and the need for you to have weak auras and add-ons in order to properly play your character. It is definitely a step in the right direction when it comes to trying to remove the need for you to have a bunch of different weak auras and things in order to be able to track and play your character optimally. Simplifying and streamlining classes a little bit could also go a long way in that state as well, but this is at least one of those steps to try to make the cooldown manager a little bit more usable. Definitely something that I am happy to see overall. I am hoping that we'll see even more customizability, like really nitty-gritty customizability for it, because at least play my rogue, and maybe there's just like an out rogue thing if anything. I feel like I just got one too many things I gotta track pretty regularly, so if I had slightly more customization, I definitely will start using it myself, but as of this moment, it is at least a step in the right direction. I think a lot of players who don't normally track any buttons or weak auras will find this feature a lot more usable, especially since now it's a lot more customizable, so at least you can track all of the important buttons you need without necessarily having to add additional add-ons or weak auras or any other configurations. But with that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like, as I would very much appreciate that. Also, be sure to join our Discord community, especially when it comes to any future midnight updates, more patch 11.2.5 updates, potentially any guides when it comes to Legion Remix, whenever that finally releases. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.